to the Midwifery Folklorist, Oral Archive, and Lunar Gathering Space. I'm your host and priestess, Midwife Okunchola Amadu. This is a living archive of birth mysteries and midwifery wisdom, and together we're gathering every new and full moon around the globe. Welcome. It's a new moon morning. It's in the 4 o'clock a.m. hour. And here we are. My name is Okunchola Amadu, priestess, midwife, folklorist, museum professional, cultural preservationist, and midwife historian. I am the Midwifery Folklorist, and this is the Oral Archive and Lunar Gathering Space. I'm sitting in my shrine room, and this morning I was awakened by the sounds of drums. Today, the Great Mothers have opened the doorways and the portals for me to talk to you about the sacred drum. Originally, it was put on my spirit on the eve of the new moon to speak about the primordial mothers. What are the origins of our universe in relation to the Great Mother? We may hear the term matrilineal, mitochondrial, the origins of the mother, the womb, the cosmic womb. All of those sayings and vibrations and spirits that lead us into the depths of who we are. She wants to be heard. And in this archive, number 2, in the Lunar Gathering Space, we will speak and trace back the lineage to our primordial mother. Now, in doing so, we will talk about the drum. We will talk about the talking drum, the spirit of the drum, the mother of the drums. We will also talk about the moon and what this moon means for us. So before we begin, let's open our circle. Let's open our space. Dear great divine primordial mothers, the ones who sing our name in the swaying presence of the breeze, the ones who heat moves across our face and our womb and our backs, and we can feel the vibration of your primordial star that gives us life. The ones whose nourishment and calmity and medicine and wisdom originates from the very belly of the ocean and the earth. The mother whose great trees and lusciousness that bears fruit and wisdom rises from the earth's core beneath us. The mothers who and the spirits who have given us our ancestors and our callings and our destinies and our purpose, we thank you. We thank you for calling us into this sacred space. We thank the messages and the wisdom and the tugging and the pulling of our hearts and our souls, no matter our religious or spiritual background, no matter our race or ethnicity, no matter what parts of the sacred earth, the geographical landscape, the defined country lines, no matter where you hear my voice and where you feel this calling. We thank you for bringing us together, for we create an interwoven connection from our hearts and our very deep centers to bring harmony, oneness, and restoration to the life and living and existing of our great mothers, of the origins of midwifery, and in the honor of the sacred divine feminine. Bless this space, bless our words, bless our ways. The lunar gathering space is now open. Ache. So welcome. And today I would like to begin by honoring where our moon is. We have a new moon in Aries, and Aries is the first zodiac of our 12 constellations that make up our astrological wheel. So we are currently experiencing our Earth's new year. This new moon, and when the alignment of the earth and our sun being in alignment with this energy of Aries, it transmits a new beginning, new life springing forth, and it's undeniable. It's everywhere. We begin to have these thoughts that are coming up. So say, the earth has been dormant and frozen and dark over the winter. And the new grass wants to peak and grow. So we may have been nestled in over the winter, hibernating more, just kind of simmering and sitting with who we are, where we are. This phase of the earth and the cosmic space that we're in welcomes us and calls us to take a look at our new growth. Take a look at those beautiful things growing within us. And for those of us who are called to this space, that is taking a look at the systems that we engage in through midwifery and through the divine feminine. And no longer hiding behind the veil or the illusion that these things work for us. Every day that we take part into the systems, the medical industrial complex, we are opposing who we are. We are in opposition to our divine nature and oneness. So this new moon in Aries, this new beginning, the bold, courageous change, this fiery creation, this giving birth to life, this bursting of new life or a child from an egg. These are all signs and symbolism that it is time to radically reclaim what we know to be true, that women, that we are divine and sacred and deserve to be adored and enamored and uplifted. And childbirth is sacred and divine and deserves to be restored to ceremony and removed from the crisis framework. Yeah? Yes. That's where we are. Now we welcome in the big, bad solar eclipse, right? Yeah. And we shouldn't call it bad, but the solar eclipse is really giving a very brandish removal. It's eclipsing away and taking away the things that stand in the position to block those brilliant, juicy, divine things that we are calling into and deserve to exist in our life. So some of the old ideologies or practices that we've been holding on much too tight. Yeah, the solar eclipse is begging you, shaking you, helping you to wipe yourself down off and clean, to no longer be afraid, to no longer accept or be oppressed and say, we just have to deal with it. It's everywhere. No one will listen to me. There's no way to go. All of those things are false. They belong to the old paradigm. They belong to the oppressive and fearful way of thinking. This eclipse is calling unto the deepest parts of you to say, what is your truth? What feels right for you? If your mind was in harmony with your spirit, and your spirit was in harmony with your soul, and if your soul was in harmony with your body, and if all your mind, your spirit, your soul, and your body was in harmony with the earth, and all your mind, your spirit, your soul, your body, and the earth is aligned and in harmony with the cosmos, and if all of that arrives in that sacred space, who are you? What would you be doing? What would you be called to do? Where are you? What are you receiving? What are you giving? What do you know to be your truth? Do it. What is distracting you from doing that fully? Eclipse it, release it, remove it, denounce it. This is where we exist right now. So, what will allow you to move deeper into this energy of the new moon today and carrying you for the rest of the lunar phase for the next 28 to 29 days? For me, I fast around the new moon phase. I've had years where I do it religiously, regularly, and I've had years where I'm fasting in my mind and spirit, but physically I'm unable. This moon cycle, I was able to in all the ways. So I slowed down, and 3 days before the new moon, so if you've listened to Oral Archive number 1, you may have remembered me saying that the new moon phase is 7 days long. 7 days in vibration, where you have this waning, releasing of, starting fresh anew of, and stepping into that power. So 3 days before the new moon is a good time to start focusing on tilling the soil of your life, taking stock of what are the weeds, what are the debris, what are the toxins that are in the soil, the bed of who you are. Those last few days of the previous moon cycle, those 3 days before the new moon, it's time to look at those, feel those, breathe into them, touch them, thank them, and remove them. You can do that through fasting from animal products, dairy, meat, overly processed foods. So starting to incorporate more salads, more fruits, more smoothies, more nourishing teas, more water, more herbs, pure coffee if you drink coffee, minimizing soda, things like that, right? Spending more time under the moon, feet touching the earth, breathing in fresh air. Those are the ways to help to embody and embrace, what do I need to thank and let go of? Resting your body in herbal waters, the herbs or the essential oils or the crystals that you decide to anoint your body with, either in a nice long shower with those waters being poured over you or those crystals around you, or actually in a bath. What herbs, essential oils, botanical spirits, or crystals that you decide to use are all in relation to the things in your life that you are planning to release. Now, as you get to the new moon day, which is today, This is the day to be within your sacred portal, your cauldron, your universe. Reading, writing, journaling, meditating, praying. If you can fast completely and just drink herbal teas and fresh waters and maybe have fruits, wonderful. If not, honor your body where you can with what you have. New moon days are traditionally the time of the darkness of the womb. And blessings and prayers to any woman listening who no longer carries their womb. I want you to know that that sacred space within you still exists and vibrates. That is still your core. So, traditionally, the new moon and our divine indigenous spiritual cultures is a time where women menstruated. We had our moon time, our moon cycles. We bled. We just talked about how the last few days of the moon cycle, we're taking stock of and kind of summering up what we're planning to release. And then the new moon, that portal opens to let go of so we can call in. So thinking to our sacred bodies, right? We have this divine connection where the, we call it scientifically pheromones, but the breath and auric field of our body communicates with other women around us that we live with, exist with, love on, and work with. And we would menstruate at the same time. And at this time, we would retreat onto the earth, onto sacred land, where we could bleed freely and nourish the planet and our crops. And we would gather in our moon huts, where we would dream together, pray together, rest together, breathe together, be together, create art, and just be in this sacred portal and this gathering space, right? And this was the way that women, priestesses and midwives and healers kept our oral histories and wisdom strong, because we sat in this portal together at a time where our womb, our uterus is contracting. That's the portal of life, from the stars, the souls, the spirits coming from the universe and coming down into the planet, into our bodies, where we grow a body for that spirit to inhabit and to live, and then it's birthed through us. So the time of menstruation, our moon time, the uterus is contracting, it's breathing. It's cleansing, it's purifying. Yes, it's getting ready for new life, whether that's a baby or the new life of what will carry you forth in this month, and how that can add on to your years and your goals, to your destiny and purpose and divinity. So, physiologically, the bedding, the lining of the uterus that had previously created a bed for a fertilized egg or your dreams and visions to live comfortably within you. That lining is leaving and shedding through blood and other ways. Toxins and other things are leaving the body physically, right? And we're giving that back to the earth to renew it. That's physiologically what's happening. Energetically, we also need to cleanse and purify the body to take in what's coming anew. So the new moon, even if you cannot gather with other women and you're gathering with yourself through the women live within your lineage, within your DNA, within your cells, your ancestors are all around you. Gather with yourself through that spirit. And you're going to do that same thing, whether you're menstruating or not. Try to sit your feet in the earth and be under the moon at night, if you can. And as you release on the opposite side, you're calling in the abundance through finance, the abundance through health, the abundance through thought, the abundance through love, the abundance through support, the abundance through freedom, the abundance through courage, the abundance through boldness, all of the things you would like. If you're a writer like me, take your sacred paper, put your hands on it, bless it, pray upon it, and write down what you're releasing. Shred it, burn it, bury it in the earth. Write down what you're calling in. Take a seed, place that seed in your paper, place water on that paper, wrap it in that seed, get it drenched in water, moon water preferably, and bury that paper into a house plant and water it, or bury it into the earth and water it. Or just take the paper and place it between the pages of a sacred book or a journal. That's the new moon. There's so many rituals. I write about it in the Moon Goddess Guidebook, which will be republished after a revision so you can have these writings in your hand. Now, 3 days after the new moon to complete the 7-day phase, this is when you are actively writing down 3 things, less or more, that you would like to actively call in and attract this month or as a part of a greater goal. You are thinking of it, dreaming of it, praying on it, meditating on it, singing and humming to it. You are bringing these things to life in your mind. You are seeing yourself, if you're wanting to buy a house, you're seeing yourself searching for the house, filling out the application, getting excited as you walk through your dream home that you're envisioning. You're seeing yourself getting the approval letter. You're seeing yourself allowing the house to be inspected and the keys being handed over, and you walking through the house the first time your name is on the mortgage or the deed if you're buying it out free and clear. Walk yourself through those things mentally, spiritually. Allow your soul to align with it. You are physically doing these things within the first 3 days. So that means take the first steps. Go and look at some homes. Go and plant your feet on the land of some homes or things that you're interested in. Whatever your goal is, physically do something to get yourself closer. And third, make an offering. All throughout these 7 days, an offering should continually be made, whether it's food and incense and candles to your ancestors, whether you have a personal altar or shrine and you're making an offering to yourself, whether it's an offering to the earth to go and pick up litter or go and replant trees. Make an offering, whether it's volunteering at a local charitable organization. Offer up. It is the balance and the exchange between the universe and you. So that is the 7-day new moon phase. The vibrations of the new moon phase will change every month based off of where the sun is and the moon is. A new moon means that the sun and the moon is in the same sign. And the sun, the earth, and the moon are in complete alignment, which is why we cannot see the moon, because of where the sun is. There isn't a reflection because the sun is shining on the backside of the moon that we cannot see. So all 3 planetary cosmic bodies that govern our life on earth are in perfect divine alignment at 0 degrees at the time of the new moon. So now we move into my dream so that we can talk about the primordial mothers through midwifery and the drum. Right. So this morning, I woke up at 3 a.m. to prepare for the oral archive and lunar gathering space. Before awaking, I was in the last few moments of a dream. First, I was in my childhood neighborhood, seeing some of my childhood friends. So that is resonating of going back to an origin of freedom and happiness and expansion. Immediately following that, the dream took me to a large stage in Cuba. It was a big festival. And if this ever comes true, this is why we have the oral archive and lunar gathering space. So I'm on stage. There's a gentleman. I'm unsure if he's a babalawo, a priest, or a drummer, or both. But he has this big, tall drum. I want to say it was white, but he was in all white. And he's looking at me over his shoulder to ask me, how do I introduce the drum? How do I honor the drum? What do I say? And I'm telling him, this is the name of the drum. This is the spirit of the drum. This is the mother drum. You have to say it loud. You have to tell them that this is the mother of the drums. And from Congo to Cuba, I remember saying that. And I woke up. So when I woke up, I went outside. I got my crystal bowl of water and charged it and placed it outside in the grass under the moon. And I went outside in my backyard and I placed my feet in the earth and I said, talk to me. Tell me, what is this message? And the divine said that the great mothers are calling us back to the drum, to the original heartbeat of the cosmic universe, to the original heartbeat and communication link between the universe and the womb as a people. So we will talk about that and how the drum is the medicine of women. When we think about drums, we oftentimes see men playing drums. Stay with me. Now, when we think about childbirth, we now see men dominating childbirth. Stay with me. When we think about, no disrespect to traditions or cultures, but certain spiritual communities, women are forbidden from certain roles of power, roles that we once held, whether it's the church or Christianity, whether it's in the Rasta community, or whether it's even in our own lineages through cultures that stem from the Yoruba people, the Lukumi and Santeria, where women are, at one point, were not allowed to be initiated into Ifa, which has since changed. And in the Rasta community, women were not allowed to drum. And when I lived as a Rasta woman, my last Nyabingi that I went to, I said, we will drum. We're not asking you to let us drum. We've brought our drums. We will drum. And I led the local women in St. Louis into a rebellion to drum in the basement of one of my goddess sister friends. We drum. Even in churches, we see women reclaiming their roles and their positions. So, the great divine primordial mother on this blessed new moon solar eclipse is telling us, remember our origins, all of them. Remember the voice of the earth and of the cosmos that beats in harmony with our heart and our spirit and our soul and our vibrations, that traces us back to our power to assist us as we live oftentimes in societies that denounce, oppress, and suppress who we are. And so, let's go into it. So today's theme is the drum, the womb, and the universe. I love that. Reclaiming sacred birth through ancestral wisdom. Now, an invocation to the spirit of the drum. I'm going to invite you, if you can, where you are, close your eyes. Yeah. Empty your hands. Feel your feet, your legs, your thighs, your hips, your core, your womb area. If you're a man and you're listening to this, feel your genital area, your core area. Women, your vulva area, feel your womb area. Move up to your breast or your chest or your heart and your heart. Over to the shoulders, down to the arms and hands. Wrap around. Feel up to your back, your spine, up to the back of your neck. Wrap around the crown of your head, down to your face, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, over to your ears, back down to your throat. Bring that energy back down to the heart, straight to the center. Feel the energy field around you. Take your hand, your left hand, and wrap your left hand just around your energy field. So if you are just taking your hand and just kind of going in a long oblong circle from a few inches or so over your head around your entire body, feel your energy field. We're harmonizing. Remember that synergy that I talked about? Your mind. Your mind is here in this lunar gathering space, right? Your spirit is calling forth and aligning with the cosmic placements right now, this new moon energy. Your soul, the blueprint is communicating to your mind, your spirit, and your physical body of your destiny, your purpose, your calling, and your origin. So as we talk and invoke this energy, you're calling forth your highest self. So the purpose of going in this circle in our energy field, which you can slow down and wane that energy now, the purpose of that is so that we're showing up yoked and in oneness. I implore you to look at my latest post on Instagram that would have gone up on the 28th of March, because I give you the keys to oneness and your destiny and your purpose in that post. Now that we have grounded all of ourselves, we're calling in spirit of the drum, spirit of the tree, spirit of the Iyami. We call on you under this solar eclipse, this new moon of fire and transformation. We ask for your wisdom, your rhythm, your memory, that we may remember who we are and why we were born to birth in sound, not silence. Come on. Now, this eclipse opens a portal of transformation, and we're stepping through it right now with some of our most sacred tools, the drum. So, I'm talking about the Bata drum today, because in the dream when I was awakened in Cuba, standing before this great audience of Black and Indigenous people of all races actually, in my hands and in the hands of the person playing the drum was a Bata drum. She had a name. I was trying to tell him her name. She has a purpose. I wanted him and everyone to know her purpose. She has a voice. And I was there to remind the world that she stretches her roots not just from the Yoruba land, but all the way back where you are, where I am, from the Congo to the Americas, from Yoruba land to the Caribbean, from the Caribbean to Europe, this entire planet, from the trees to the womb to the origin of sound. So thinking about the drum comes from a tree, and the tree is the Iyami. We'll talk a little bit about the Iyami, because the Iyami is a name from the Yoruba people, but the energy is that the Iyami is the primordial mothers that were given birth to at the time that the universe was born. So imagine the origins of the universe, and this first energy being birthed out of that is the Iyami, who has the power and the balance to create or destroy. And the Iyami has a role in childbirth. The Iyami has a role that inhabits the bodies of midwives, because we have the ability to support birth, as sometimes it can go well and sometimes it can have challenges. So we walk in that medicine of the Iyami. Now the Iyami, the primordial mothers, they've wrongly been called witches, right? And if we compare the stories of midwives who were called witches because of our powers and our gifts, you will understand why many midwives are called to the path of the Iyami. Now, going to where this primordial energy of the original mothers who have this dual power, how does she and this energy incarnate on the earth? Through trees and through birds. So if we go back to the drum, and we think about the drum is known, quote unquote, as an instrument, but it's actually a living, breathing being born of the wood of a tree and skin from an animal, and the spirit of both. So if we think about the main spirit, the communication portal of a drum, is going to come from a tree. And the tree holds Ashe. Ashe is the spirit, the life force. And we know that trees are alive. And the roots of the tree has a cosmic expansive system to communicate with the entire planet around them, and up with everything outside of us to get the oxygen and sun and water and everything that's needed. So the Iyami, the original primordial mothers, they are inhabited through the tree. They are representative through the energy of trees, especially trees that are hollowed out in the middle. And the trees hold Ashe and spiritual power. The right trees are chosen, honored, and then cut in ceremony. The Iyami, the mothers, are the guardians of the forest. The forest holds some of the deepest, most divine, sacred wisdom. Trees are like people, and they have seen our planet transform. They hold wisdoms and words, and no drum can be birthed without a tree's permission. Again, the tree is a portal, and it stands between realms, much like the womb. Therefore, the drum is, come on, stay with me. Therefore, the drum is a spiritual womb, a voice for spirit, and a vessel of prophecy. The drum was the first language of the womb before we had words in this very language that I'm speaking and that you're hearing me through. Now, when we think about the drum, we want to think about this drum that we call the Bata drum. It's also known as the Iya, the mother of all drums. and it was once played by women in sacred birthing ceremonies, rituals, and rites of passage. So we're talking about the drum, the mothers, and rebellion. So before the drum was outlawed from Black and Indigenous communities, when we think about colonialism, times of enslavement, the drum was used when we would gather and share our stories and share our spiritual awakenings and continue in our resistance and in our thriving as best as we could. So before the drums were outlawed, because the oppressors knew that the drums talked, that they were medicine, that they, were the spark of rebellion, the drum was first taken from the hands of a woman and from women. So as back to us saying the Bata-Iya, the mother of all drums, once being played by women in sacred birthing ceremonies, rituals, and rites of passage, I write about in the Moon Goddess Guidebook how the first oppression was not racism or classism. The first oppression was patriarchy. So patriarchal systems took over, and women were banned from playing the bata and other ceremonial drums. That happened first, as men wanted to control how we used our power and take our power from us. And, childbirth was started to slowly not be seen as a sacred ceremonial offering and gift. And it started to be seen as the more children you have, the more hands you have for labor. The more hands you have for labor, the more land and objects and animals you can amass. And the more things you can amass, the more you can take, the more you can control, thus giving birth to war and capitalist systems and on and on and on. And as far as it advanced, the more and more the woman became suppressed and oppressed. So we're going to keep moving in that space. So just as that happened to women, later colonizers, so white male colonialists and their white women counterparts, then began to oppress, trick, oppress, and steal the cultures, ways, and people from indigenous communities, mainly in Africa. So colonizers then outlawed the drum entirely. There's stories of this happening in South Carolina, the Gullah Geechee land, where the first oral archive was recorded. There's stories of this happening across the Caribbean. There's stories of it happening in many places, from Jamaica to Cuba to Brazil to the Americas. Now, the colonizers knew that, again, the drum carried messages of resistance, freedom, and spiritual power. The trunk of the tree, the entire drumming process was oftentimes consecrated. It was an initiated drum, and those who could play it had to be initiated. So thinking about becoming a person that walks with the Iyami, you have to be initiated and accepted into the society of the Iyami. If you're being initiated in voodoo or Ifa, Asheshe, the Orisha systems, whether it's Lukumi, Santeria, or Isheshe, all of those things take initiation. And many different Orishas have their own drum. Many cultures and community has their own drum, but the Bata-Iya is the mother of all drums. So these talking, alive, breathing drums guided those who played them and those who heard its sounds. It guided them to their greatest power and strength. Imagine being enslaved and oppressed and having no way out. And you get into the woods and the forest and you play the drums. And then you are able to lead yourself and your people to freedom. And imagine this drum being used in that same way for childbirth and a midwifery. Come on now. Let's take a moment. I had someone share my post last night that said, I want us to go back. I was talking about the ways of elder midwives. It was in the voice and in the words of Mrs. Margaret Charles Smith, who was saying those people, saying the white male oppressors, who said that midwives were ignorant, those people didn't understand, because us midwives, we had our own way of doing things and it worked, and we didn't need a piece of paper to tell us. Those were the words of Miss Margaret Charles Smith. And someone shared that post and said, I want us to go back. And I said, and we are. Join us. So while we don't have to, quote unquote, go back, we can bring our primordial and indigenous wisdom forward into the now. And this is what we're doing. So back to our vision. You're in this portal with me, right? You're in this cauldron with me right now. Whether it's the new moon day or it's in the future, you're here with me. We're all here gathered around. The ancestral midwives and mothers, the primordial vibrancy of the origins of our universe that has called the drum back into reality. Imagine an initiated priestess of the Iyami carrying that primordial energy, or an initiated priestess of Olukun who carries the wisdom from the depths of the earth, of in the bottom of the sea, of the ocean, which is the origins of this planet. The Iyami stretches out. Olukun, the origins of this planet, the waters that came from the universe. Imagine, it could be any of the Orishas, but imagine an initiated priestess who's a midwife guiding these drums. Doom, 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 doom. And divine harmony and alignment with the heartbeat of the mother and of the baby. If the mother gets overwhelmed and things get intense, she can call upon that drum, while the sacred birth companion, which we call doulas today, but while the sacred birth companion is trained almost in the same ways of the midwives, besides the quote unquote medical clinical side, she's comforting that mother and surrounding her with the things that are needed, while the midwife, da-dum, 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 the trees are speaking, the Iyami is speaking. Remember, the Iyami is there inside of the womb, protecting the baby as it's molding and growing and coming, preparing to be birthed. The Iyami can see inside of the womb to know, hey, is this baby having challenges? Does it need something? And because that spirit of the Iyami is in that drum, it can talk and communicate from inside of the womb and the body of the mother. If you're initiated and you're trained to see and feel, you can hear. You know what's being said. Listen, we just got ultrasounds. We just got Dopplers. We know who we are. We know what we're doing. Yeah? Yeah. So, the Iyami, the spirit of the Iyami communicates through the womb that's connected to the primordial origins and womb. She communicates when that initiated midwife who's trained to hear and see plays that drum. And she says, hey, this is happening inside with the baby. Make this offering. Go take this offering to the base of a tree. Pick up this herb along the way and give this tea to the mother. Massage the mother's belly this way. Play this specific tune on the drum to help the baby to turn. Whatever it is, the message will come through. Imagine having that trust, that anchoring, that guide, that calling, that power, that access, that ability, And that success of trusting that we have all that we need. Yeah. So, those are in which the ways before the drum was removed from the hands of women and midwives, before the drum was even suppressed within our own culture as a people. Those were the ways that the drums were used before we utilized ultrasounds and other means to monitor what's happening. So, the severity, in some countries, when the drum was removed from Black people during enslavement and active colonialism, the way it was removed is that our people, our ancestors, were threatened to have their lives taken, to be abused through being whipped and even being silenced just for drumming. So I want you to know that the drum is not just an instrument. Today, we leave that colonialist, marginalized view. The drum is medicine. The drum is a portal. The drum is a womb. When honored, when it's created in the right way, from the right tree at the right time by the right people with the right intentions, and when it's consecrated and initiated with a person to talk to that person with the primordial energies around it, it is medicine, it is power. And we knew that. So, this morning's dream was to remind me, us, that, yes, I know we're here today. I don't know any midwives who drums. That does not mean midwives don't drum. That just means that I have yet to meet a midwife that brings a drum to a birth. And through the lineages that I've created, the birth priestess lineage and the folk midwife lineage, I'm telling you, on this new moon solar eclipse day, you will start to see women midwives, Black and Indigenous women of color, and women of all races who are called to the sacred divine path of midwifery and being with woman as they give birth on this planet. You will see them returning to the call and the voice of the drum in alignment with the primordial mother. Again, the word Iyami is tied to the Yoruba culture, and that is a word tied to a language, culture, heritage, and dialect of a specific group of people that I belong to. That's my blood lineage. However, we know that it's a spirit that belongs to every culture and every people. And we need to start to call back in our power through the drum and midwifery. So, the drum was banned because it awakened something that could never be colonized, our memory. Now, the drum in childbirth, sacred sound is medicine. We know the womb is responsive to rhythm, to drumming, chanting, humming, and sound vibrations. And ancestral traditions, midwives and priestesses use the drum to call down spiritual protection. Again, as I just shared my story, to move, or the stories of our mothers and midwives, to move the baby, to align contractions, and to ease pain. The drum also helped the mother to cross the veil, that sacred threshold between life and death, anchoring her to the rhythm of the ancestors. In postpartum, we can't forget about that. Drums were used to drum the womb, to close off or seal off. We don't ever want the womb to be closed, but to seal off that journey of bringing that life through the portal, so that this seal of that spiritual portal will allow the welcoming and anchoring of the soul of the child to begin, and for the return of the anchoring of the spirit and soul of the mother to settle back in the body. A lot of times women are having out of body experiences during birth, where their souls are lifted high up, almost to the stretch of a thread. That's why it could be life or death if you don't have the right trained sacred people who honor and revere childbirth and the both of the realms of it. Right? They're lifted high up. And we need midwives who are trained in the sacred ways of knowing, once birth has commenced, how to assist her soul and spirit to gradually come back into harmonize into the mother's body, and to fill in those spaces as healing begins. Imagine having a traumatic birthing experience where a woman disassociates and becomes numb in order to survive that experience. Her spirit never fully returns back into her body and is scattered until someone supports her in anchoring herself. So that means you could be 20 years postpartum and still fractured and wounded from that traumatic birth, living fragmented. I know that feeling. We need oneness. So, a call back to the drum. Now, under this solar eclipse, the Great Mother is calling women, you and I, and those sacred ones that you know that are ready to leave the veil, the illusion, patriarchal oppression behind. We don't need to tear down their system. Listen to me. Come home to yourself. Don't waste your time tearing down a system. Yeah, we stand strong by coming home to ourselves, activating ourselves, feeding and nourishing ourselves, and that is our power. We are not against, we are in alignment. We know the atrocities, the disparities, the negativities, and we can create change by existing fully in our power and creating this sacred, powerful space for those who need to find us, and to work with us. Yes, by existing in our power, it's a natural pushback against the system to harmonize and neutralize all of this pain and oppression and suppression that's going around. But if our number one goal is to fight and tear down and change and transform the system without first us calling in our power back to our body, which has been out of our hands and in chaos for thousands of years, then we run the risk of burning out and not achieving our goal. Trust me, I know. Okay? Come home to yourself. Harmonize your mind, body, spirit, and soul with the primordial energies around you. If you don't know how to do it, stay in touch with me. Stay in tune. Follow me. Not follow behind me, but I am a guide. You already have it. You already have what you need. I'm here to activate and to assist you in reclaiming and restoring and remaining in your elevation. I will have workshops and classes and teachings that will assist in guiding you where you need to be as a midwife, as a mother, as a person here to help harmonize humanity. Now, as healers, midwives, and seers, and the keepers and protectors of the wombs, we're not performers. But as these sacred roles deeply, we are calling back in our power as drum as not being entertainment, but being a ceremony, a sacred technology. Birth is not meant to happen in sterile silence. It is meant to happen in sound and in rhythm and in remembrance of our power and how life should be welcome and cherished. I leave you with this affirmation. We were never meant to birth in silence. We were never meant to birth restrained. We were meant to birth in rhythm and power and fire, with breath, with water, with earth, with the sound of the ancestors echoing through the room. I ask you, what would it look like to reintroduce the drum into your birth work, your ceremonies, your life. What sound is your womb waiting to hear? What would happen if you remembered your rhythm? On this new moon morning, we are gathering, we are reclaiming the voice of the womb, the sound that was nearly erased but refuses to be lost. The rhythm that has been forbidden, but the drum that still calls us home. We are the daughters of the midwives, the seers, the drummers, and the priestesses they could never silence. Under this eclipse, I call unto you to remember. Under this moon, I call unto you to rise as a tree in a lush, abundant forest. And we will meet again on the next full moon in 2 weeks, reborn, remembered, and rhythmically aligned. I thank you for gathering me today on this new moon, and I welcome you to meet with me on the next full moon, Saturday, April 12th, as we gather again at the Oral Archive and Lunar Gathering Space. This is Okunshola Amadou, priestess and midwife and your guide. I am the Midwifery Folklorist, and I thank you for joining me today. The circle has now been sealed. Many blessings to you.